Welcome back to the Aussie channel, guys. Today I'm teaching you guys how to build a PC. So lately I've noticed a lot of people are trying to build custom build PCs. They don't know how to do it, so I'm going to try to help with that. So yeah, the PC we're going to be building today is going to be a streaming PC for one of a client, pretty much the exact same PC as I have really. And I'm going to walk you through every process, try my best to have the camera on the right spots and all that sort of stuff. Also, if you hear background noise, my girlfriend's just playing Dead by Daylight. So hopefully you guys learn a lot out of this. So first of all, let's look at the parts we have. Alright, so let's start off with the mother of all parts, the motherboard. See what I did there? So to do it, we're using the Gigabyte B450M Gaming. It's an ATX it's a micro, ATX micro. So this is going to be what everything connects to. The CPU we're going to be using today is the Ryzen 5 2600, absolute machine when it comes to the streaming. I currently use this and streaming and playing COD on high settings at over 100 frames per second. I've still never gone above that 40% usage mark. I know the 3000 series is out, but I mean, this saves you, like, in Australia, $90, and I mean, there's no point, and I think there's like 6% difference, so there's really no point, you know, upgrading that lot until these, you know, aren't available anymore. Memory wise, we have the Corsair Vengeance 3200 MHz RAM, and we've got 16 gigabytes of it because with streaming and gaming you really don't want that much less. And for the SSD, was meant to be Corsair Force 240 gigabytes, but the people I got the parts from, they forgot to order it, but they had 500 gigabytes and upgraded me for free of Crucial SSD. So it isn't as fast as the Corsair Force P2 240 gigabytes, but I mean, it's close. It's like an extra $30 more than what it would be for an extra 260 gigabytes of RAM. And we have the MSI Ventus 1650 Super. So they don't make 1650s anymore. So 1650 Super is a solid budget streaming GPU. Sadly, it is only a 4 gigabyte one, but you know, it's for streaming, it's got NVIDIA encoding. I forgot about the rest of our storage. Is 1 terabyte WD Blue SATA internal, you know. So this gives us lots of backup room. You don't want massive amount of SSD, because you can use that extra $100 to put to a better GPU. So just like something anywhere between 240 to 500 gigabytes SSD. And got 2 is all you need, and then top it up with a nice terabyte backup. So next we have the TP-Link AC 1200 Wi-Fi adapter, and it does 300 megabytes at normal 2.4 gigahertz, and then overclocked it does 867 megabytes tops. So this one's high speed stuff compared to just your normal one, and it's fairly cheap. So then we have this Casecom micro ATX tower. It usually comes with a 500 watt power supply, but that doesn't come with a 6-pin PCIe cable, which you will find out what that is later. That connects to your GPU to give it all its power. So instead we went with the 600 watt Casecom PSU, which comes with a 6-pin PCIe cable, which goes perfectly with our 1650 Super, which also has a 6-pin for its PCIe cable. Anyways, that's all the parts. So let's start. So here we have all of our parts, and you want to have a nice wooden desk like this. Don't do this on something that creates static electricity, such as carpet and that, because it won't be good for the parts. So for now, the only thing we really need is the B450M gaming motherboard and the AMD Ryzen 5 2600 processor. The rest of this stuff can go to the side just for now. So when you open this is a anti-static case. It's only anti-static on the inside, so you don't want to put this back on afterwards. Opening this, it will give you 2 SATA cables, which you'll use to connect your hard drive, your 1 terabyte NVIDIA hard drive afterwards. So this is something you put in your case that I'll show you where to put this and put this somewhere where on something soft, not something really hard, because it might damage the back of the board, and you want to be super careful because motherboards are really delicate. You want to close up this box again and then take the motherboard out very carefully. Just pull that off very carefully, avoid a lot of the pins, and try to carry it using this big heatsink here. because that is probably one of the strongest parts of the whole motherboard. So once you got here, you can see there's a beautiful red and black, and it looks really nice. And just put the rubbish somewhere. So you want to keep it on here because this isn't too hard, but it's also a nice steady ground, so nothing moves. It's a good size because the motherboard originally comes in there. If you want, turn it to the side so it fits on it perfectly longwise. Open up your CPU.
But the one standing still, I want to beat the shit out of.
Installation instructions, we don't need that because I'm helping you, and that's what
Come on, bitch boy.
And then in here you will see your fan and then your actual CPU. You want to pull out the CPU and we'll use that fan later. So for now we don't need that. So for now we can just put this back over to the side. So you want to sort of open this one very carefully.
If you come down, he can send you to a cage instead of putting you on a hook. Oh damn, he really wants you.
And then once you open it up, it should look like that. And whatever you do, do not grab underneath it, only grab from the sides, which is why it should have these little indents on the side. So what you're going to want to do is open up this, and that will open it up ready for the CPU to go into. And let me see if I can show you something. So I don't know if you can see very well, but over in this corner over here, there's a little triangle.
Because if you walk through...
And on the CPU, on the little corner just down over in here, I can't tell if you can see on the camera very well, there's a tiny triangle. You've got to line these triangles up. Line up these two triangles and don't apply any pressure at all, and it should just slide in, just like that. If I try to move it to the side, it will not move. It is in, and then once you do that, just close that. And if yours has a little cover over it, it will just pop off the cover when you close that, and done. That is in now. Now we want to install the CPU fan. Your CPU will automatically come with some thermal paste on the bottom. That's hard to see, but it is on the bottom just there. If you touch it this time, it will come up very, very sticky, and this will stop and help cool your CPU. And what you're going to want to do is see these brackets here. This bracket here, you want to unscrew these first because I forgot to do that. So now that's these little black little things that are popping up here. I don't know how well you can see, but that's part of the bracket. What you're going to want to do now is make sure, because this is a very small motherboard, that you don't want this little AMD tag hanging out over here. You won't be able to put both of your RAM slots in, so you're going to want to have it over this side near the heatsink, and line up these screws here at the same point, at the exact same parts where you just did under those screws on those little black or white, it depends on your motherboard, and just push down firmly and start screwing in a X direction. So you screw them in one little bit at a time. So what you're going to want to do with this cord here is the fan cable, and the fan cable, see this little bit here, this little one here, it will say CPU fan above it. This little part up here where it says CPU fan, that's where this cable will go, and just pop it in like that. And then with this fan, to hide it just a little bit, hide it around, like I try to tuck it in just next to this heat sink and in between there, and that way it will stay in there. Now you either want to put in your RAM or your M.2 SSD, and the reason we want to do this all outside before you put in the case is so you make sure this all works. If this all works perfectly, you can put in the case, so that way you know it works. Set it all up outside the case. So the only thing you have to do once you put it in the case is literally just, put in. So usually I would use Corsair Force because I just prefer it, and it's really nice and fast M.2. So this is what your M.2 will look like. It's just pretty much a little bar. And you just want to open that up, grab it only by the sides, and you do not want to touch this bit at all. But just before you insert the SSD, there's this super tiny little screw right here that you guys can probably just see. You will have to remove that one first. So once you do that, this is your SSD, and your SSD will go in this little slot here, just this little slot here. It's a little bit hidden, and you're going to want to put it in at this tiny, like 30 degrees angle. Just slide it in, and it should just pop in. And usually when it's in, it will sit up like this, so you just gotta push that down, and using a screwdriver with magnetic head like this, mine's not very magnetic, but using a screwdriver with a magnetic head like that is very handy. Just once it stops, just stop. Same with everything else, you don't want it to be unbelievably tight.
When we start the game, does it tell you who you're facing?
Yeah.
Does it say like facing the, and then it'll give you a killer name?
So now that that's done, we can close this up, and that's our SSD done. Later on we'll just install Windows. And now we're up to the RAM. So the RAMs are these two slots here. You're going to want to pull these little levers back. These little levers, they pop back, and they pop. And we are using Corsair Vengeance, which is an amazing RAM. So it should come looking like this. Once again, you do not want to be touching these little lines here. You don't want to be touching these at all. And these have little dots, as you can see right there. You will want to line those up with these. So that means I will be facing it this way. Make sure these tabs are open. Insert one at a time. I prefer to do the one right next to the CPU first. So try to just get it in there. Push it down. And then once it's in properly, these will click, and that means it's locked in. So these will click automatically once you've pushed it in. Give it a bit of force, try use two hands. Once again, same thing, lining that up with this little notch here, and
wow, sorry, I will never interrupt your gaming.
And it should click in. Once again, just easy, just super click in. This one didn't click in properly compared to the other. There we go. They should be nice and tight, and these are gonna look nice. This is what it will look like now. Nice. It's got your RAM, your CPU, and your SSD in. Is include your GPU.
Yeah,
so once again, this GPU is the MSI Ventus XSOC edition, and it is a 1650 Super with NVIDIA encoding. So this one is an XS, so I mean it is smaller than your usual. What you're going to want to do is line these up with this slot. Make sure this slot is pushed backwards, and make sure this is hanging over the edge over here, otherwise it won't go in. And just give it a little bit of pressure, and it will click in automatically exactly like the RAM. Leave it like that for now. So what we're going to want to do now is actually give this thing a test run, see if this boots up. Okay, so now we want to open up our PSU, our power supply unit, and we're going to want to take this out. This is a non-modular, so it will come with all of the cables. Keep getting confused which way because it's opposite, and more. So this is set to intake, so it will bring the air through there and then exhaust it through here, and because of the case we have, this actually goes towards the top of the case. Just undo these. You want to keep these and use these for cable management later. This is where you learn all of your cables, and right now we don't have an extreme amount of cables because, well, at least these come actually pre-zipped there, so it doesn't create too much of a mess. So you want to use this 24 pin one. So what you're going to do here is you're going to plug this one into your 24 pin up there. Move this onto a good angle, so just plug straight in. It should just slide straight in, it should just clip in. You probably won't hear it clip like that, but it will just slide straight in that easy. These cables are for your SATA, such as your hard drive, that you'll be putting in later for your case, so we don't need to worry about these just yet. This is your PCIe cable I was telling you about earlier, this blue one here. Usually I don't like a lot of, rainbow wires because it doesn't look that good, but I'm pretty good with cable management, but with this very small case I have today, I don't know how well it'll go. This will go straight into the 6 pin on this one, as you can see. If you can see this, that's the 6 pin that this one will be going into, and you just want to put that in just like that, and it will go in. So this one here is an 8-pin one, because some motherboards come with 8 pins, some come with 4 pin. This one in particular has an 8-pin CPU. So this one is to power your CPU once I untangle it from all these other cords. And this one will plug in simply as it shows up here, 8 pins, and just clip it on, and same as the others, it will automatically just clip in. And that is most of it. This is all of it set up. This is all you need so far. And then I will just I will test this using HDMI and plug it into my monitor, which is behind that one. So now we'll just put our HDMI cable into here. So now everything is hooked up. That's on HDMI, ready for when we turn this on. Here is a little cool trick. This is how you turn your PC on without using a front panel. This one over here that says F panel, which is this one here, just want to connect these. And we have liftoff. So it stopped, so obviously lights come on over here for the motherboard. It stopped, it's restarted. It should be working now. Okay, so let's just switch that over to HDMI when it's ready. Yeah, I don't believe this motherboard has actually got a BIOS, but usually you go into BIOS and then, you know, set it up. So what I'll need to do now is turn it off, make sure to give it a power drain, and then reboot it back in with Windows. To power drain it, the exact same one with the front panel connectors, just hold it. Hold this in there 10 to 20 seconds, the same connector we used before. It should be power drained. So just unplug the GPU, PCIe cable, the CPU cable over here, your motherboard's 24 pin, and any other cords you have, such as the HDMI cord. So now we're going to do this exact build again, but in a case. So before we do that, we want to take this GPU out, just because it's heavy and it may break this slot here. And we'll just remove that by clicking this little thing over there again, just clicking that out to pop it out, and then just give it a nice pull straight up, and it should just come out. And then just put this face down somewhere over here. Alright, no, so now we need to actually move the motherboard and everything else out of the way. All the rest can stay on because it's not heavy, it won't bend any parts, it will sort of stay together whilst we are, you know, trying to put it back in a case. That saves us taking it all apart and re-putting it back again, and if we did, we'd have to put more thermal paste on the CPU, but we don't have that. So this is what we just move this to the side.
You dropped a smoke too.
Over here, I'll put that one on there. Move this over here to give it some room. Don't want to damage that at all, and just grab our cases. So when building these with cases that come with the, you know, the plastic over it, make sure you leave the plastic on until the end, otherwise you will get fingerprint marks or whatever. This is where this will come in handy, because you're going to start needing to put a lot of screws in there. All your screws come with your motherboard, not your motherboard, I mean all the screws come with your case. These are some more screws that we need that we will have to just put in there. This is going to be a little screw container. These are all of the, you know, front cable wires and all that sort of stuff that we're going to try to feed through the back after. This one personally doesn't have a lot of room at the back, but we'll make do. So that's why I don't recommend this. It's got not much room for cable management at the back, and this has a lot of wires. So with cases, they will have one screw up there, one screw there, one screw there, and one screw there. And it should come with 4 screws originally in those in the little bag like this, or if it comes with the power supply, they'll already be in the power supply. So usually you won't have to worry about that unless you're switching power supplies. So let's just put this one on. Okay, so now that's in. We want to put this the right way up. Yours is most likely going to be down the bottom, but mine is at the top for this specific case. Not a big fan of it, and it shows, and it's, you know, ugly, but I mean,
16.3 million.
That's what you get for a cheap case. That's what this is what he wanted. He liked it, so why not? Let's give it a go. Now we'll remove this back panel. This will help us with cable management. This is literally all the room I have for cable management. It's like this thin behind there. Like, look at that. There's like no room for cable management. So you're gonna feed all of our wires through there. If your power supply is already at the bottom, just keep them all at the back. that's where they're supposed to be. There we go. So there's two main reasons we want to make cable management as good as possible. One, it looks good, and two, it helps generate the nice airflow through the case, because if the cable's everywhere, it just disrupts the airflow. Now once we have done that, usually your case cables are already through the back here, but mine are not, so I will once again pull those through and then undo these, and then once again we will keep these for later to use for cable management at the back to tie them together without having to use zip ties. Usually your case will come with zip ties and everything, but this one didn't. Well, I've got spares, but usually yours will. Okay, so now first thing we want to do is see this big empty space here, and you see this part that came with your motherboard. Let's put two and two together, yeah? And now with your motherboard, you're going to carefully, like I said, pick it up from the heatsink and from the side here, and try to get it in there, and line it up with the holes, and just be very gentle. Should be these little holes down here that should line up with the motherboard like placement, and then you just screw them in at all 6 points. And you can find these screws in where your motherboard came. It will come, I mean, in your case, it will come with your case, because each case might have a slightly different size screw. And this is where you're going to empty it all into this little bucket here. Okay, so be warned, you will have leftover screws. I know it is a very scary thought, like when you get leftover screws from like an IKEA product, but like, you know. Okay, so now we've done that, what we want to do is now put our GPU back on. And we'll do that the exact same way, but this time we will have to remove one of these things from the cases. There will be something like this to hold these in place on all cases. And now put in the GPU. See, now that is in, and these screws are aligned. I'll show you that right now. That's in, these screws are aligned, and you're just going to screw these in with two screws that look like that one. Have that little hex head sort of looking thing, and that's for the case one here. And we'll just screw two of those in, or three depending on your GPU. That's in securely, but we're not done yet. We need to add a Wi-Fi one. So we'll add the Wi-Fi card now, and then we'll add the terabyte. This tiny little slot right there is exactly where this will go, and I will show you how. So these will come with its antenna separate. You just screw them in afterwards, or put them in afterwards. Like I said, I've never used one of these before. I usually use Ethernet, but he needs Wi-Fi. So this will go in a very similar way, facing down like everything else, and just putting this into that same sort of port, inserting it the exact same way you just put in your GPU, and it should line up with the screws on the side, and just screw it in with the same two screws once again. And now what we want to do is follow that first bit and put all of the cables in, and then I'll show you what all these extra cables do underneath, but we may have to take this out. So now we'll just connect all of our main cables back, and I'll continue from there.
Oh wait, no, I have to go this.
Okay, so we'll worry about a PCIe cable afterwards, but right now what we want to work with is all of these. So all of these cables are the trickier ones, your USB, your HD audio. When it comes to these, you want to feed these through wherever the best cable management possible is. But for me, it's all down here because they're right at the bottom. So down here you will find, once I move these out of the way, down here you will find a HD audio, a USB 2.0, USB 3.0, which is this one there, and then your front panel connectors. And I'll try to get a good close up. So here we go. Here we have, you can see the USB, I should say. USB will go into one of these USB 1, the FUSB 1 or FUSB 2. One will have a blacked out square. That's why is it not focusing? But yeah, one will have a blacked out square and just align them. It's like a complicated jigsaw puzzle. This next one says HD audio, and that will just go in the HD audio section, which is all the way over here. Once again, line up the black square. So now it should be looking like this, and now you're going to plug in the USB 3.0 cable down into the only place it really fits, in that one there. You want to line up the missing pin on there like a complicated jigsaw puzzle, and that's what it should look like now. Okay, so we don't want to put the graphics card in just yet. We want to fit these SATA cables, which are these ports right in that corner there with the funny shape. So these ones over here, these four right there are your SATA cables, which are for your hard drive. So now when we open this, in our little slot down there, usually you have removable trays. This one isn't removable, but it should have screws on the side that will line up with the screws on the side of your HDD. Just screw them together and make sure that this side with the SATA cable and its power cable facing out. Okay, so you see this one here that has this little shape. Match that up on the exact same looking one on the hard drive. Minimize as many of these visible cords as possible. That's what we want to do. Now remember these cables that you got with your motherboard. So now we want to connect this to the other port, because there will be two connection parts in here. Plug that in, and then once again we want to try and minimize this cable management, or like cable viewage, and try slide this out over here somewhere. Plug it into one of your SATA cable parts. God damn, that was really hard to say for some weird reason. There we go. So now what we haven't done yet is the front panel connectors. So remember these little like things that we used before that we tapped on with the screwdriver to make it start up? Now these connectors that run from this front panel down the side here, it should look like something like these little pins like this. Should go down into where it says F panel or front panel connectors or something like that down in here, and just connect all of them out. Okay, so once we've got those plugged in, we're going to turn it on here at the back and see if it starts.
Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm telling you,
everything perfect. I love the blue ring lights here. So with these cables, tuck them in into places and then put the cover back on. So this would have actually taken, you know, a lot faster, but this small case, I've never built in such a small case before, so it took a little bit longer. So yeah, if you guys like this, please like and subscribe for more, and hope, I don't know, let me know what you guys want next. I'll see you in another video. Hopefully this helps. See you.